high above the city, in a glass-walled office that touched the sky, he stood alone. The room was enormous. Vaulted ceilings, walls of glass stretching from floor to ceiling, the skyline laid out beneath him like something he owned, because he did. At the center of it all sat his desk, a massive slab of polished redwood, its surface gleaming like still water under a perfect sky. From where he stood, he could see everything: traffic below, the movement of people, the park across the street, and there, almost hidden among the trees, a simple bench. People came and went from that bench. Some sat. Some fed the birds. Some just rested for a moment before moving on. He watched it longer than he meant to. Behind him, his secretary sat at her desk, her office alone, larger than most apartments, quietly working, accustomed to his moods. "I can't find one," he said, not turning. She didn't look up. "Find what, sir?" "A real woman." Now she glanced up. "They all see the same thing," he continued, his voice tightening. "The office, the building, the money, not me." There was a pause. "You're a very wealthy man," she said carefully. "That's the problem." He turned then, frustration written across his face. "I could hand someone the world and still never know if they cared about me or the world I handed them." He looked back out at the park, at the bench, at the birds, and something in him shifted. The next morning he was gone. No announcement, no itinerary, only a brief instruction left behind: "Do not look for me." He found the park easily. It was quieter than he expected, honest, in a way his life hadn't been in years. He bought a small bag of bird seed from a nearby vendor and made his way to the bench he had watched from above. For a moment he just stood there. Then he sat. He tossed a few seeds onto the ground. Nothing happened. He tried again, smaller this time, patient. A bird landed. It watched him. Then cautiously it stepped closer. He smiled. "Go on," he said softly. The bird pecked at the seed. More followed. Minutes turned to an hour, then longer. For the first time, in as long as he could remember, no one asked him for anything. No decisions, no pressure, no expectations. Just quiet. Just the sound of wings and the soft rustle of leaves. He leaned back slightly, exhaling. "Peace. Hey, that's my bench." The voice broke the moment. He looked up. A man stood before him, clothes worn thin, eyes sharp despite it. He gestured toward the bench. "I sleep there." The billionaire studied him for a moment. Then, slowly, an idea formed. "What if I made it worth your while?" he said. The man squinted. "Worth my while?" He reached for his coat. Fine fabric, immaculate stitching. "What if we traded?" The man blinked. "You serious?" "Completely." The man looked at his own clothes, rags barely holding together, then back at the coat. "And a bench?" he asked. "I keep the bench?" The man laughed. "Deal." Minutes later, the exchange was done. The wealthy man, no longer looking like one, sat back down on the bench, and that night, for the first time in years, he slept. Days passed. He stayed in the park, fed the birds, learned the rhythm of a life that moved without urgency, and then she noticed him, at first, just in passing. A well-dressed woman walking to work, glancing briefly at the man on the bench, who didn't quite fit the picture his clothes suggested. There was something about him, the way he carried himself, the way he smiled, the way he fed the birds, not carelessly but gently, as if it mattered. She saw him again the next day and the next, until one morning she stopped. "Mind if I sit?" she asked. He looked up and smiled. "Not at all." Their conversations began simply. Weather, the park, the birds. But it didn't take long for her to notice he wasn't like the others. He spoke well, thoughtfully, with humor that came easily and landed gently. He made her laugh. And he listened, really listened. "What happened to you?" she asked one afternoon. He shrugged slightly. "Life, I suppose." She studied him. "I don't believe that." He smiled faintly. "You're not supposed to." She began to help him. At first, small things. A meal, a proper shave, a clean shirt. Then more. Clothes that fit, shoes that weren't worn through, guidance. How to carry himself, how to speak in a way that would open doors. She spent her own money, her own time, and he watched. Not just what she did, but why she did it. She never asked for anything in return. They started walking together through the park, talking longer, laughing more, and somewhere along the way, without either of them saying it, they fell in love. "So you can't stay on this bench forever," she told him one evening. "I've done all I can out here. It's time you had a real place, a real life." He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "You're right." He stood. "Come with me." The building towered above them. She slowed as they approached it. "What are we doing here?" she asked. "You'll see." He took her hand. Inside, the lobby stretched wide and polished, every surface gleaming. She hesitated. "This isn't right," she whispered. "We shouldn't be here." "Trust me," he said. The elevator doors opened. They stepped inside. She stared at the panel, rows upon rows of floors. He pressed the top. The doors closed. The ascent began, slow at first, then faster. The numbers climbed. Her grip tightened. "Where are we going?" she asked, her voice rising slightly. He said nothing. The elevator continued upward, the hum of the motor growing louder in the enclosed space. Her breathing quickened. "We're going to get in trouble," she said. "We can't just walk into a place like this." He squeezed her hand. "Just a little longer." The numbers kept climbing, higher, higher. The doors opened. A vast office spread out before them, elegant, quiet, controlled. A secretary sat at her desk, typing, barely glancing up. He didn't hesitate. He walked past her. She froze. "What are you doing?" she whispered urgently. "We can't." He kept going, straight to a set of large double doors. He pushed them open. The office beyond was enormous. Glass walls, city stretching endlessly below. At the center, that desk, that massive, polished redwood desk. He walked to it, calm, certain, then sat. He spun the chair once, twice, then stopped, facing her. A smile crossed his face. "Well," he said, "how do you like it?" She stood frozen near the door, eyes wide. "It's all mine." "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "No, no, stop this. We have to leave." She rushed forward, closing the doors behind them, lowering her voice. "Please," she said, grabbing his arm. "You don't understand. We can't be here. You're going to get arrested, or worse." "It's mine," he said gently. She stared at him. "I own this building?" She stepped back. "No," she said again. "No, you don't." He reached over and pressed a button on the desk. "Come in," he said calmly. The door opened. The secretary stepped inside. "Yes, sir," she said, as if nothing were out of place. Silence. The woman looked from the secretary to him, back again. The room seemed to tilt. She swung her purse at him. "You lied to me." He raised his hands, backing up, dodging the blows. "It was the only way," he said. "I had to know." "To know what?" she demanded. "If anyone could love me without all of this?" She stopped, breathing hard, tears in her eyes. "You let me spend my money on you," she said quietly. "You let me believe." "I let you show me who you are," he said softly, "and you showed me everything." The anger didn't vanish all at once, but neither did what they had built. Time passed, words were said, feelings settled, and in the end, she stayed. The bells rang, clear and bright. They stepped out into the sunlight together. A white convertible waited at the curb. He opened the door for her. She paused for just a moment, looking at him, really looking at him now. Then she smiled and got in. He walked around, took his seat beside her. The engine started, and as they pulled away, the city stretched out before them, not as something to be owned, but as something to share.